On a cliff in China, there is a road carved straight through the inside of a mountain, dug by hand by 13 villagers because they had no other way out. And that is only number 3. Before you reach it, you will cross a road so narrow that meeting another truck means reversing along a cliff for 3 kilometers. A road that killed more than 1,000 people just to build. A road where one country flipped its own traffic laws so drivers could look down and watch their wheels hang over a 600-meter drop. Stay with me, because by the end of this video you will know the 10 most dangerous roads on Earth that even truckers are afraid to drive. And number 1 earned a title no road should ever want. Here is what makes a road truly dangerous. It is almost never one thing. It is altitude and ice and a cliff with no barrier all at once, where help is hours away and one wet rock can end you. Most of these roads were never meant to exist. People carved them anyway, for gold or oil, or simply a way to the rest of the world. And the ones who drive them now are not thrill seekers. They do it for a living. We start at the bottom of the list. Number 10. Skipper's Canyon Road, New Zealand. Near Queenstown on the South Island, a thin gravel track clings to the wall of a canyon that falls straight into the Shotover River, hundreds of meters below. It was cut by hand between 1883 and 1890, carved out of solid rock by gold miners with shovels and black powder, some of them hanging on ropes above the gorge. And here is the strange part. The gold rush that paid for it collapsed before the road was even finished. They built a lifeline to a fortune that had already vanished. The road is so narrow that in most places 2 vehicles cannot pass at all. Meet someone coming the other way and one of you has to reverse, sometimes for 3 full kilometers. Back along the cliff edge until the rock opens up enough to squeeze by. There are no guardrails. There is no second chance. And this is one of only a few roads in the entire country where, the moment you drive a rental car onto it, your insurance quietly stops existing. A company whose whole business is measuring risk looked at this road and decided it simply could not be covered. Let that sink in. The miners are gone. The gold is gone. But the road they clawed out of the cliff is still here, and it still punishes the smallest mistake. The next one was not built by miners. It was built by an army. Number 9. The D915, Turkey. In the mountains above the Black Sea coast, this road climbs over the Zoji La Pass through 29 hairpin turns stacked almost on top of each other. It was built in 1916 by Russian soldiers using local laborers and little more than hand tools. And they did not bother with guardrails or even in the middle with pavement. That central stretch is loose gravel perched on the edge of a sheer drop, with gradients steep enough to make a modern engine strain. Some of the turns are so tight that 2 vehicles cannot round them together. One has to stop and reverse with its rear wheels feeling for an edge the driver cannot see. And here is the detail that should stop you. This is not some forgotten relic. It is a working road used every single day by trucks, cars, and motorbikes because the alternative routes take longer. The people here do not drive it for adventure. They drive it because it is the way home. A road built a century ago by an occupying army, never finished properly, never made safe, and somehow more dangerous by reputation than the famous death road in Bolivia. The next road is the only way in, and that is exactly the problem. Number 8. Zoji La Pass, India. High in the Himalayas at 3,500 meters, a narrow shelf of dirt and rock connects the Kashmir Valley to the remote region of Ladakh. For roughly half the year, it is buried. Snowfall seals the pass shut from November to June, and the slopes above it are loaded like a trigger. When that snow lets go, it comes down as an avalanche, fast enough to bury a vehicle whole before the driver can react. In 2008, 18 meters of snow fell on this pass, a wall of white taller than a 5-story building. And here is the cruel part. Zoji La is not a road people choose. For the towns on the far side, it is the only road link to the rest of the country. When it closes, an entire region is cut off. So crews fight to keep it open, plowing through walls of snow, which means it is most heavily used in exactly the season when the avalanches are most likely to fall. The one way in is also the thing most likely to kill you on the way. The next road does not threaten you with a fall or a slide. It threatens you with nothing at all. Number 7. The James Dalton Highway, Alaska. 414 miles of mostly gravel running north from near Fairbanks across the Arctic Circle, all the way to the frozen oil fields on the edge of the Arctic Ocean. It was built in 1974 in a single 5-month rush as a supply road for the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, and the pipeline still runs beside it, often the only man-made thing in sight for hours. According to the Alaska Department of Transportation, there is one stretch 240 miles long with no fuel, no food, no lodging, and no help of any kind. Most of the way, there is no cell signal either. Picture it. You are alone on a gravel track, the pavement long behind you, the trees thinning into bare tundra. A truck thunders past in the other direction and throws a rock the size of a fist at your windshield. The temperature outside has fallen to 60 below. And here is what makes this one different from every road before it. Nothing is trying to throw you off a cliff. There is no hairpin, no 600-meter drop. The danger here is the emptiness itself. Break down in the wrong place in winter, and the cold does not need a cliff to kill you, it simply waits. A skidded truck or a cracked fuel line, a minor problem anywhere else, becomes a death sentence out here because the nearest human being might be 100 miles away and the next vehicle might not come for hours. This is the rarest kind of dangerous road. It does not attack you. It just removes everything that could save you and lets the silence do the rest. The next road is the opposite. It is crowded, it is famous, and it climbs to the roof of an entire continent. Number 6. Sani Pass, Lesotho. On the border between South Africa and the tiny mountain kingdom of Lesotho, this gravel track climbs more than 1,300 meters in just 9 kilometers, up to a summit nearly 2,900 meters high, a place locals call the Roof of Africa. It is steep enough in sections to reach a 1 in 3 gradient on loose rock, with hairpin bends so feared they carry names like Suicide Bend and Devil's Corner. South Africa will not even let you begin the climb unless you are in a proper 4-wheel drive. And still, that is not enough. Because this road has no guardrails, not one, along its entire length. The only thing marking the corners where people have died lies in the ravine below, the rusting wrecks of the vehicles that went over the edge. The reason it keeps collecting them is simple and merciless. Loose gravel gives almost no grip. The gradient leaves a sliding vehicle nowhere to stop, and the thin mountain air dulls a driver's focus at the worst moment. And with nothing at the edge to catch you, a single mistake does not end in a scare. It ends in the gorge. Snow can fall here in any month, turning the whole climb deadly without warning. On Sani Pass, there is no barrier between the road and the drop. The wrecks are the barrier, the dead marking the line the living are not allowed to cross. And we are only halfway down the list. The 5 roads still ahead are worse. If you are still here, you already understand something most people never think about. A road is not neutral ground. Some of these were carved by desperate people with no machines, some by armies, some by oil money. But every one of them is a place where a moment of bad luck or a single wrong movement is the end. You are about to see the place at number 3, the one I told you about at the start. The road dug through a mountain by hand. But first, a road that cost more than 1,000 lives before a single car ever drove on it. Number 5. The Karakoram Highway, Pakistan. It is often called the 8th wonder of the world, and the highest paved international road on Earth, crossing into China at the Khunjerab Pass. 4,693 meters above sea level. It threads between some of the tallest mountains on the planet, in the shadow of Nanga Parbat, a peak so deadly to climbers it has its own grim nickname. But the real story of this road is not its height, it is its cost. Construction began in 1959 and took 20 years through terrain so violent that the mountains fought back the entire time, with landslides, rockfalls, and avalanches burying the work as fast as it was done. According to the records of the Pakistani and Chinese teams who built it, around 810 Pakistani workers and roughly 200 Chinese workers died doing so. Stop and hold that number. More than 1,000 people died building a road before it ever carried its first traveler. And here is what makes it worse. The mountains never actually stopped. The same landslides that killed the builders still come down today onto the cars below. Branch off the main highway toward a place called Fairy Meadows, and the paved road gives way to a narrow dirt ledge with no railing. A track so steep and so crumbling that no bus will attempt it, and even local Jeep drivers take it slowly, one vehicle at a time. A road built at the cost of 1,000 lives that is still quietly collecting more. The next road did not cost 1,000 lives to build. It collects them now every single year in plain sight. Number 4, the BR-116 Brazil. At 4,500 kilometers, it is the longest highway in the country. And along one infamous stretch, it has earned a name the locals use without irony. The Rodovia da Morte, the Highway of Death. What makes this one frightening is not a remote cliff or a frozen wilderness, it is the opposite. This is a busy, ordinary highway packed with cargo trucks, and that is exactly the danger. On the mountain section called the Serra do Cafezal, thick fog rolls in and swallows the road. The curves tighten, and heavy trucks crawl bumper to bumper on grades that punish worn brakes. According to Brazil's Federal Highway Police, the BR-116 records more traffic deaths than any other road in the country. Hundreds of them year after year. And here is the unsettling truth in that number. The deadliest road in Brazil is not some hidden track almost nobody dares to drive. It is one of the most traveled roads in the nation. The danger is not that you are alone out here. It is that you are surrounded by thousands of tired drivers and overloaded trucks on a road that carries too much for too long, through weather it cannot handle. Sometimes the most dangerous place is not the emptiest, it is the most crowded. But the next road was not built by a government or a company. It was carved by hand by villagers, and it changes how you think about what people will do to escape being forgotten. Number 3, the Guoliang Tunnel, China. This is the one I promised you. High in the Taihang Mountains, there was a village called Guoliang, perched on top of a cliff, almost completely cut off from the world. For centuries, the only way down was a path called the Sky Ladder, a set of narrow stone steps cut into a vertical rock face, where a single slip meant death, and where people fell carrying food or livestock or the sick. For years, the villagers begged the government for a road. The answer was no. The village was too small, the mountain too hard. So in 1972, they decided to build it themselves. 13 villagers, not one of them an engineer, sold their goats and their grain to buy hammers, chisels, and steel. And then they began to carve a tunnel, by hand, straight through the side of a mountain. No machines, no power tools, no help. At the hardest points, all of them working together advanced the tunnel by about 1 meter every 3 days. It took 5 years. Several of them died in the rock before it was done. When they finally broke through in 1977, they had carved a passage more than 1,000 meters long, just wide enough for a single vehicle with 30 windows opening straight out of the cliff face. Holes they had cut simply to shovel the broken stone into the valley below. Today, those windows frame the drop, and tourists come from around the world to drive through it. And here is the part that stays with you. They did not build this road for thrill, or beauty, or money. They built it because the alternative, the sky ladder, was killing them. They carved a tunnel through solid rock to make their lives safer. And what they created became one of the most dangerous roads on the planet. A road dug by hand by ordinary people just to stop being forgotten. That is now famous precisely because of how terrifying it is to drive. With that, only 2 roads remain. And both of them are deadlier than anything you have seen so far. Number 2, the Sichuan-Tibet Highway, China. More than 2,000 kilometers of road climbing from the lowlands of Chengdu up onto the highest plateau on Earth, all the way to Lhasa. To get there, it crosses 14 mountain ranges, most of them above 4,000 meters, where the air holds only half the oxygen you are used to. Construction began in 1950, and like the Karakoram Highway you saw earlier, it was paid for in lives. More than 1,000 workers are believed to have died carving it across the plateau. But here is what sets this one apart. Most of it is paved. This is not a crumbling dirt track. It is a real, modern, finished highway, and it is still one of the deadliest roads in China. Because out here, the road surface was never the problem. The mountain is. Landslides, rockfalls, and avalanches come down so often that China's own state news agency once described the highway as an encyclopedia of road disasters. One section drops off a 4,000-meter peak through 99 switchbacks folded into a single mountainside. You can pave a road perfectly, sign it, light it, engineer every curve, and the earth here will still try to erase it season after season. A finished road that is never actually finished because the mountain keeps rebuilding the danger faster than anyone can remove it. But none of these prepare you for what comes last. Number 1, the North Yungas Road, Bolivia. The world simply calls it the Death Road. It runs 64 kilometers dropping out of the high Andes near La Paz down into the warm green of the Amazon basin. In places it is barely 3 meters wide. A single ledge of dirt and gravel with a wall of rock on one side and on the other nothing. A drop of up to 600 meters straight down with no guardrail anywhere along it. The fog here can roll in so thick that a driver cannot see the front of his own vehicle. And the edge is always there, a few centimeters to the left, waiting. It was carved into the mountainside in the 1930s, largely by prisoners of war, and for most of the 20th century, it was the only route connecting the capital to the north. Now here is the detail that tells you everything. On this one road and nowhere else in the country, Bolivia reversed its own traffic laws. Everywhere else, vehicles drive on the right. On the death road, they were told to drive on the left. Think about why. By keeping to the left, the driver going downhill sits on the outer edge, so he can lean out, look down, and watch his own wheels balance on the lip of the abyss. The safety measure was to stare into the drop, and it was still not enough. For decades, an estimated 200 to 300 people died here every year. Buses and trucks would meet on a ledge too narrow to pass, and one would inch backward toward the edge until the ground gave way. In 1983, a single bus went over and took more than 100 people with it. The worst road accident in the country's history. The bends are still marked with white crosses, and far below in the green lie the rusting shells of the vehicles that never came back. In 1995, the Inter-American Development Bank gave it the title that stuck: the most dangerous road in the world. And here is the final, strangest turn. A safer bypass road opened in 2006 and the traffic moved away. But the death road did not go quiet. Today, around 25,000 people a year travel from across the planet, pay money, and ride bicycles down it on purpose for the thrill of surviving the deadliest road ever built. The road that killed hundreds a year out of pure necessity is now a road people risk their lives on for fun. That is what the most dangerous roads on Earth all have in common. We did not build them because they were safe. We built them because we had no choice, and once they existed, we could never quite leave them behind. Before you go, 2 quick things. If a road on this list made your hands tighten, the next video tells 15 shocking stories behind some of the world's most abandoned places, and the chilling reasons people were forced to leave them behind. Subscribe so you do not miss it, and drop a comment and tell me which country you are watching from, and which of these 10 roads you would refuse to drive even for $1 million. I read all of them, I promise.